Hi, I'm Norm Abram. Welcome to the new Yankee Workshop. Well, it's a big day today. You get to see us start setting those kitchen cabinets we've been building for the last several weeks. That's next, right here on the new Yankee Workshop. Well, it's not often that you see one of these in a woodworking shop. This is my Transit, and I've had this one for over 35 years. I don't break it out very often, but when I need an absolute perfect level line, this is the tool. And I needed that to start setting our new kitchen cabinets. Let me show you. Here's that level line I shot with the Transit, and it goes all the way around the room. Now keep in mind, it's simply a reference line. The cabinets will be set a distance either below or above that line. That way everything will be level. Now when I shot the line, I discovered that this was the high point of the floor in the kitchen. This is an old house. It's not perfectly level. It drops off slowly down to this corner, and then when I get over here, I'm an inch lower from where I started. Now if I start the cabinets from the high point and set them, there's a couple issues. First, the dishwasher will have a large gap between it and the bottom of the countertop. That's not acceptable. Secondly, my cornice molding is going to have a problem. The reveal that I want on this top rail is going to get pretty small. Doesn't look good, and it's not very acceptable. So what I did is split the difference. I'm only going to shim these cabinets 5/8 of an inch, and that means I'll have to chop off 3/8 of an inch by the time I get to the pantry. An easy solution. Now yesterday, I started with the oven unit. That's secured to the back wall, the side wall, and I scribed the face frame for a nice tight fit. This base cabinet is secured to the oven and the wall. This wall cabinet is also secured to the oven cabinet and the wall. The range hood goes here. We're missing a part, so I can't set that or the remaining wall cabinets for a while. But I did get started on the sink base. This is ready to go. I've marked the stud locations at the back corner. I'm going to pull it out and pre-drill some holes for the screws. Marking and drilling these holes from the back is a lot easier than crawling around inside the cabinet to do them. I'm using a 3-inch screw, and that's going to get me a good inch into the studs. All right, that's not going anywhere. Now I've left an opening of 24 inches for the dishwasher, and I'm ready for the draw base, which will give me an opportunity to talk about scribing. The first thing I want to do is make sure that the cabinet is level from the wall out. And to do that, I've placed a shim under this end, and that's perfectly level, which also means that the face frame is plumb. Now we look at my reference line we talked about earlier, right here. Here's my first line. I dropped it 3/8 of an inch. The cabinet is up above that, so I want to cut some off the bottom edge. I set my dividers, and I simply place it on the floor and scribe a line. And when that's cut and I reset it, we should be right on the level line. Now before we use any power tools, let's talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. Well, now we see the effect of that scribe. With the bottom of the cabinet cut, the top is right even with my level line, and with the scribe material removed, I have a tight fit to the floor. Okay, now I secured the draw base using the same techniques as I used on the sink base. The next piece to install is this panel. It's a piece of 3/4 inch maple which has been edge banded. It's been primed, and it goes right next to the sink base. And what it's going to do is start to form the opening for the refrigerator. Now I can clamp it and then I'll screw it to the base a little bit later, but first I want to put a cleat up in the ceiling so I can secure the top edge. Now here on the back side of this panel, I'm not worried about any of these screws showing because they're going to be covered by the refrigerator. And up here, no problem. These screws will be covered by the cornice. All right. Now, of course, the wall cabinet is going to go here, and that will further stiffen the panel. Pretty soon, we'll be able to start putting the drawer boxes and the drawer fronts back in, as well as the doors. And one thing I'm really happy about on this project is how well the paint job is turning out. Let me show you that. Well, what a blessing it is to have a garage space that we can convert into a paint shop, because I have a lot of cabinets to paint. The painters have come in and covered the floor, put up plastic walls, and even taken the time to cover the ceiling so paint only goes on the cabinets and no place else. Hey Mauro, how long did it take you to set this up?
Well, it didn't take too long because we used to do this all the time and it's ready to go.
So you have a site-built paint shop.
Right here.
And what's Eduardo getting ready to do here?
Oh, over here we're going to cover and avoid the paint to go inside the cabinet.
Right, we don't want any paint on the inside. It's already been pre-finished.
Exactly.
All right, so he's got a piece of plastic with what looks like to be painter's tape already attached. He's sticking it to the inside of that top rail on the face frame. Now wait a minute, look at this. So it just unfolds, and it just so happens to be the right length. So what is this? So it comes in a roll, and as I said, it's got the tape on it, and it's even got a cutter, so you can cut it to the length you want. Boy, and does it come in different widths?
Comes in different size and widths, yes.
Oh, that's great. And now he's just using more of the standard painter's tape to attach it to the edges and along the bottom. So once he gets that all sealed in place, we don't have to worry about any paint getting on the inside.
No paint goes inside.
Well, you know, I was looking around in here earlier, and I'm really impressed with the quality of the paint job. I mean, the wood trim bits, the face frames, they're absolutely smooth. I can't see any of the joints. You've done some of the panels and the drawer fronts as well as some of the doors. It's really moving along nicely.
It looks good.
Now we have a cabinet here that's going to be part of the office system. It's the wall cabinet. What's the status of this piece?
Well, we have a 2 coats of this high solid primer.
Okay, you have 2 coats
That we'll
of
put
primer.
on, sand in between coats.
Wow, that feels like glass. I mean,
Yes.
it's very smooth. What grit paper are you using?
We're using this 320 sand.
Oh, so you really sand it nice and smooth. Everything's ready to go. What's the next step?
Well, the next we're ready to spray on the first coat of paint.
And what kind of paint are you using?
We're going to use this oil-based semi-gloss finish.
All right, I'd like you to see you spray some of that on.
Well, yes.
All right, well, Eduardo is all suited up to do some spraying. He's got a protective coverall on, the proper respirators, some safety glasses, and a hat. Now, what's in the paint cup? What's the paint made up of?
Well, we have this solvent flowing for easy to spray with it.
So you've added that to the paint to make it easier
Exactly,
to spray.
yes.
Okay, how about technique? There's got to be a proper technique to spray.
Yes, the important is to keep the gun distance with the work.
So the same distance from the work,
Exactly.
moving it at a nice steady rate.
Yes.
And when he
moving.
actually pulls the trigger, he wants to do that while he's moving.
Exactly.
Mar, would you rather paint on a cold day or on a humid day like today?
I think the day like today is much better.
Right, let the paint dry a little bit
Let
slower.
the paint dry naturally,
Okay.
uniform.
Well, that didn't take too long. Let's see how it looks. Boy, that looks great. No drips, no runs, a nice even finish. Nice job, Eduardo. Well, Mauro, you're getting amazing results with 2 coats of primer and 1 coat of final paint sprayed on these cabinets. This happens to be a drawer front. But you know, from one of the cabinet shops we spoke with, we're hearing that more and more people want a brushed-on look to their cabinets.
Yes, today most of the people wants to blend in the kitchen cabinet finish with the existing trim around the house.
Right, and that trim was painted with a brush. That
with the
makes
brush
sense.
strokes, yes.
So let's show us your technique on brushing the paint on.
Okay, just to take out the excess, and we always started with the center.
Right, start in the center.
And you give that nice brush stroke.
So you're not going to play with it too much. You just want to get a nice even brush
Nice and
line.
even finish.
Okay. Now how about this? Any flowing solvent in this?
Yes, we have. We add a little bit just to make the brush, make it a nice stroke back and forth.
But it's still going to leave behind a trace of those brush marks.
Yes, this is what most of the people wants to see it on a cabinet today.
Well, Mauro, you've given us some good tips today, and I want to thank you and Eduardo and the rest of your team for the great job you're doing on these kitchen cabinets. We couldn't have done it without you.
All right, thank you.
While you've been checking our paint job, I've started on the pantry unit, which is lying on the floor. I start with the base, which I've scribed to the floor so that it's level in all directions. Now I'm installing these locator blocks, which will hold it in the right position. Well, now I've set the pantry unit up on the base and checked it for plumb. That's good. I want to check the opening for the refrigerator. I have 35 inches. The specifications call for 35.5, so I need to move it a ½ inch. When I built the pantry, I made this style a ½ inch wider because I knew the wall wasn't perfectly flat. I've set my divider to a ½ inch, which is how much I have to remove. And if I run the pointer against the wall, it'll follow all the contours, and when I make the cut, it should fit perfectly. Bring the cabinet towards that wall, pretty close. Okay, that's going to be nice. Now I'll secure it to the wall with some screws just as before. Now to connect this side panel of the refrigerator cabinet to the pantry, I've made a panel that's in the same style as the rest of our cabinets. I'm going to glue it and clamp it in place for now, and later I'll add some backer blocks. Okay, that should work. Now we have an opening for our refrigerator. For the last few minutes, I've been preparing the cabinet that's going to be on the wall next to the refrigerator. I've drilled a hole for the power line to the under cabinet light. I've pre-drilled the holes for the screws that are going to hold the cabinet to the wall. And I've set these props in place to hold the cabinet at the right height while I scribe this end, as well as while I install the screws. Now, who's going to help me hold the cabinet in place? Action. That looks pretty good, don't you think? Now, on this end, I don't have to worry about very much because when I screw the panel to the cabinet, the joint's going to tighten right up. On the other end, however, we will see where the cabinet meets the wall, and there's a little bit of an opening there. So first, I check for plumb. Make sure the face frame is absolutely plumb, and that's good. Now, I've allowed for an extra ½ inch here so I can take off a ½ inch, which is what my divider's set at, and that should fit the wall perfectly. I stay shy of my line about 1/16 of an inch with the saw, and I refine it using my belt sander. Also note that I've back beveled it to get a nice tight fit against the wall. Well, I understand that the part for the range hood came in, so before I leave tonight, I want to install this panel, just like the one I did over at the refrigerator. On the other end of the panel, I have this small wall cabinet, and then I'll turn the corner with this larger one. All of these will be installed using the same techniques I used with this cabinet. Tomorrow, we're going to install the office right here. And over in this alcove, the bar. And we mustn't forget that there's an island that's going to be right in the middle of the kitchen. Now, you thought we were busy today. Wait till you see what happens tomorrow. Well, it's a hot, sticky day here in New England. I put a few hours in last night and got the hood installed as well as the related cabinets. Even took some time to install drawer fronts and doors. And now you really start to get a sense of what the kitchen is going to look like. Earlier today, I set this first wing wall for our office area. There's one more on this side, and I want to show you the system. You might recall that we built these panels out of plywood and left a chase for the wires. I've installed a cleat on the wall. There's a couple up on the ceiling. And I've started to run the wires up in the chase, and there's also a cleat down here at the bottom. I'm going to put glue on each side of this plywood strip, slide the panel in place, and secure it with some brads. It's amazing how stiff this wall is once it's in place. Now the brads are keeping the panel tight while the glue sets. With every screw I drive, I always recheck for plumb or level, because sometimes the screw will move the cabinet. This is one of the cleats that's going to help support the top. I've doubled up the end cleat. That will receive the hardware for the pencil drawer, and I've cut pockets for screws that will lock in the top. Well, now I'm ready for the wall cabinet. I've drilled holes for the screws to secure it to the wall. I've put this spreader in to spread the wing walls just a little bit. Now I got to get it to the back and then up on some props. I don't need any help. Well, now for the desk top, which I made out of some reclaimed longleaf pine. It's all been pre-finished. Get the spreader in there. See if I can get it to slide in. Beautiful. Pop the spreader out. That's going to fit nice, and what a great complement to our brand new floor, made out of the same kind of wood. Now I have to cap off the ends of the wing walls because we see the plywood in the interior frame. I made these pieces earlier. It's poplar that's been rabbited out on the back, and I have a bead detail on each corner, and it just fits over the wall between the crown and the baseboard. Well, that's what the drawers look like. A little bit later I'll be installing a pencil drawer right under this section of the desk, followed by some corkboard along this back wall. Well, it's getting late, and we've got an island and a bar still to install. And here it is, our island, built from river-recovered heart pine. We have these beautiful panels really showing off the grain of the wood, several coats of polyurethane to protect it. It's really a nice piece. Now, I located it where I wanted it to be in the kitchen, and in the corners I installed blocks, just like this, and like the ones I used over on the pantry. That'll keep it from moving around. I've also shimmed it so it's perfectly level. And now I'm ready to bring in the butcher block top. Boy, this is heavy. Nice butcher block top, 1.5 inches thick. I'm going to get it situated on the island with about 1.5 inches overhang on each side. I'll clamp it in place and then secure it with some lag screws. The key to this fastening system is to have slotted holes for the lags, because a butcher block top tends to expand and contract. You want to let it be able to do that. To support the cantilever of our butcher block top, I have these two turned legs, and I've connected them with another piece of the reclaimed longleaf pine and screwed them in from the underside. I've also drilled holes for the screws that are going to secure it to the butcher block. Once it's located, I'll fasten it. All right, now I put some marks, a foot in from the end. I'm going to wedge it up there and attach it. The last element to go on the island will be this base, and I'll scribe it to the floor to get a nice tight fit. I'll do that a little bit later. Right now, let's turn our attention to the bar. For the last several minutes, I've been working on the base cabinet of the bar. It's now level. Down here you see the toe space heater. There'll be a grill right out front under the toe kick. You won't really notice that. Over here I've drilled holes for the plumbing, which will come to the bar sink. And on this end I've left an opening for a wine cooler. Now you might notice that we've put up some 1/4 inch paneling. I've attached it to the wall with construction adhesive. And it may look a little flimsy at first look, but when I add some nice thick cherry pilasters along this edge, a cornice molding at the top, cherry casing around the window, it's really going to start to look solid and firm, a nice piece of furniture built into this corner. Now let's attach this base. I'm going to use some more of the construction adhesive to set the cleat to support the countertop because I don't have that many places to put in screws. Well, the last of my wall cabinets is this one. I'm going to get it up on my props and secure it with screws just as before. Now I'm countersinking these screws right into the MDF because I'm going to have a mirror on the back of this cabinet. When I have a very valuable piece of wood for a countertop and I only want to cut it once without any mistakes, here's what I do. I make a template. I use strips of 1/4-inch plywood. I've scribed this strip along the back wall as well as the side walls. I've put an angle brace to keep everything straight, and I'm only using a hot glue gun to hold all the pieces together. Once it's set, I can bring it out to my blank, trace the outline, and make the cuts. In all cases, I'll cut about 1/16 of an inch shy of the line, and I'll sweeten it with a belt sander. All right, pray for me. The last fit of the day, and it's perfect. Well, it's been a long day, and I have a few more details to take care of, but the next time you see this kitchen, it will be ready for prime time. Well, how's this for a transformation? We have a lot of people to thank for this one. The painters did a wonderful job with all the cabinets. Our counter fabricators installed the granite, and that looks great. And our plumber and electrician have everything up and running. And the chef likes the kitchen too. Up here, plenty of storage for the cookie sheets. And down below, something that she didn't have before, storage under the oven. And that's filled up quickly. The kids love this, the microwave in the island that functions like a drawer. It's hard to keep them away from it. Now, we gained some storage this time around. We have cabinets on each side of the range hood. The countertops are bigger. Because we built deeper cabinets, we have more work area. We also have more room around the sink, which is going to make it easier to clean. Plenty of height between the counter and the wall cabinets, so the appliances slide in easily. And these glass doors are a big hit. They worked out pretty well. And everyone likes the amount of storage we built in. These drawers are filling up fast, and they function beautifully. The shallow refrigerator works out well because rather than sticking out in the room, it's a nice clean line down this side of the kitchen. And a big hit is this pantry. Check that out. Plenty of shelves, storage in the door, and the chef even asked for a place for the food wrap, and we accommodated that. The office is being well used. The shelves are filled with display items. I put some corkboard back here to hang the calendar and notes, and there's plenty of light, so it's going to be a nice place to work. Over here, the bar, all made out of cherry. The countertop is finished with polyurethane for durability. We switched over to brass hardware here for the knobs and for the hinges. And people like this feature, this nice big pull-out storage drawer behind the doors. And a big hit is this top cabinet, the wall cabinet with a true divided light door, a mirror in the back, and glass shelves. It just magnifies everything that's in here. A built-up cornice that wraps all the way around, new casing around the window, and everything finishes off at these fluted pilasters that I made. All this cherry is finished with an oil, and it's only going to get richer with age. Now, this was a fun series to do. And I hope that it's inspired you to think twice before you ask someone to build your kitchen, because maybe it's something you can do. Now let's talk about next time. Several years ago, we built an Adirondack chair. Turned out to be the most popular project we've ever done. Over the years, we've made some improvements, and now we've added some accessories. This footstool and a side table. Join us as we build an improved chair with accessories. We call it the Adirondack Trio. That's next time, right here in the New Yankee Workshop.
If you've enjoyed this New Yankee project, you may want to try some of the others. There are projects meant for the workshop, the garden, the kitchen, and many more. So whether you're a fan of Shaker style, or colonial, arts and crafts, or Chippendale, there may be a Norm project you'd like to build. Whether it's a clock or a gazebo, a picnic bench or a Windsor chair, a child's toy or a sailboat, visit the New Yankee website at www.newyankee.com for a complete listing.